Hello and welcome to my channel Catholic Psychology. You're with David King. Today I'd like to talk to you about the Stoic philosophy. I'm going to take you through one of my assignments I did in university and help you understand what the Stoic philosophy is all about. Marcus Aurelius was one of the three main figures of Stoic philosophy, a philosophy which draws upon the tenets of self-mastery, reflection, and living virtuously in accordance with nature. Nature in the eyes of the Stoic refers to the preordained nature of being derived from God, as for to them, God is just another name for fate or logic. Thomas Aquinas spoke of the theory of natural law, wherein there are certain tendencies built into the very existence of everything both living and non-living, in a natural intrinsic truth, but unique to rational beings is a divine natural truth. When examining the words of Marcus Aurelius, such that nature is satisfied when going along its way well, and rational nature goes well when it asserts nothing false or unclear, refers to a detesting of opposing this natural what-isness or divine truth. Furthermore, a distinction has been made between the intrinsic nature and rational nature, with the virtue of living true to rational nature being prescribed as a method of living well. According to Greek philosophy, there is a way to live well, or flourish, known as Eudaimonia, which brought about one of the main schools of virtue ethics, the Eudaimonist virtue ethics. Virtue ethics concerns itself with desirability of certain individual characteristics, an example being benevolence or charitability. Signature to most virtues includes an orientation of impulses not inwards towards the self, but instead concerns itself with the integration with and betterment of others. Likened to this philosophy is the words of Marcus Aurelius, direct impulses to communal action, again referring to satisfying the rational nature. Perhaps as Marcus and Aquinas touch upon, there is goodness and wellness to be found by the rational being freely choosing or accepting to live according to this divine natural truth, one which includes the moral precepts of servitude. Lastly, Marcus refers to only generate desires and inclinations for that which is in our power and acceptance of everything apportioned to us by common nature. Hidden within this statement is part of the Stoic philosophy of self-mastery, that due to the undeniable nature of the world, there is only one thing truly in our control, which is our individual thoughts, beliefs, and actions. Furthermore, everything apportioned by common nature includes both the good and the bad, for life is suffering. So one should be ready to accept the suffering and joys of life, for it is a common potentiality for all. Demonstrated throughout the analysis of this stimulus, it would seem Marcus Aurelius derived a large portion of his philosophy from virtue ethics and the theory of natural law. Universal acceptance of an optimal ethical philosophy is non-existent, and as such, one must ponder where might alternative philosophies conflict with the beliefs offered by Marcus Aurelius. Initially, one must consider the implicit absolutism of natural law, that there is the truth about the nature of being ingrained in all things. While it is possible to argue for intrinsic nature, i.e., animal instincts such as self-preservation, thirst, hunger, and desire for reproduction, intrinsic rational nature implies that there is some absolute of the goodness of being, or that by embodying certain behaviors and characteristics, one is moral or will live well. However, contrary to this, meta-ethical philosophies such as cultural relativism or subjectivism offer the belief that morality, or at least the rational nature of morality, is not universal. In the case of cultural relativism, one need only draw upon the example outlined by Rachel's of the Eskimos' view on infanticide or marriage, some of their practices including killing children that were just born, or women being offered as items of hospitality to guests, both behaviors which, while considered normal to their culture, would be considered abhorrent elsewhere. Additionally, when you consider subjectivism, what is argued is that there is no such thing as intrinsic morality, but as Hume would put it, only individuals' attitudes prescribed to a behavior or belief inspired by one's own feelings or passions. Extending on moral differences due to cultural relativism, what is deemed as positive or valuable within a given culture also differs. Take, for example, the cultural personality difference between Asian and Western cultures, with the former favoring uniformity of will, whereas the latter encourages diversity and independence of thought. Furthermore, to build on this difference in values, consider consequentialism, which would suggest that the outcome is what is desirable and should dictate action. As a result of diverse values, one consequence is not universally going to be desirable, and thus certain behaviors should not be concluded as good or moral with the justification that it brings about a desirable communal difference. Due to this evidence of disparity between cultures, it is impossible to prescribe a universal archetype of behaviors for that which produce a moral or well-lived life. And yet, even with all of these contrary beliefs, I would argue that the Stoic belief, or belief in natural law and virtue ethics, can be understood through a separate interpretation. Consider viewing the nature of being as the reality under which one acknowledges that values differ among individuals and between cultures. Rationality, as defined by the Stoic, is acting in accordance with the way the world works. Thus, by concerning oneself only with that which is in thy power, one acknowledges and accepts the nature of ideological differences as the way the world works, and thus place value only in striving towards their own individual principles and values. Therefore, the Stoic reaches eudaimonia through accepting that which is out of their control, and derives satisfaction through being true to their principles. So what message are we meant to get from this? What makes us thrive and have a well-lived life is when we define who we are, what do we stand for, what is our identity, and we work towards being that. That's why you see in the world everyone dying on the hill for whatever they say that they are, and people believe that their desires are who they are, their sexuality is who they are, their community is who they are. They prescribe all these things to their identity, and then they fight to prove that that's who they are. And what God teaches us is that we need to have an unshakable identity, that we are children of God. That's what the parable of building your house on the rock compared to the sand is about. Because when challenges come our way, when suffering comes our way, we need to have an unshakable set of principles guiding us that we can sacrifice towards, that no matter what happens, we will try to live to be a certain person. And just like the Stoics believe, it's all about relinquishing control of what is out of our control and only focusing on ourself, our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, and how we can change. We all get caught up and feel such negative emotion when we feel powerless. Take that power back. Focus only on what you can do and take joy in that. I'll see you next time on Catholic Philosophy.